you are an expert in attachment style and relationships in general. Can you just like briefly describe the attachment styles that we see?
Yeah, I'm going to break it down a little bit differently than what people might expect because attachment style basically is the way how you attach to other people. If you're securely attached, anxious, avoidant, disorganized, we have these few. But one thing that people don't know is about the ambivalent attachment style. Have you heard about ambivalent attachment style?
Is that the distracted attachment style?
It's a little bit of both because people categorize themselves as anxious or avoidant and they really define their personality as such. And it's a detriment for a person. When I defined myself as anxious, I was anxious as fuck. And then when you're defining yourself, identifying, not just defying, identifying yourself, which is on a deeper subconscious level, then you start looking for all the reasons of why you the way you are. And when I said I'm anxious, and then I start looking at my fucking childhood. I wasn't held enough by my parents. I was actually left at the crib when I was one, crying, and I passed out because my parents forgot about me. And then I started justifying all the anxious behaviors that I used to have. I said, of course, I was left at the crib. I wasn't loved enough. So whatever your attachment style is, that's your starting point. This is not where it ends. This is only where it starts. Many people say, I'm anxious, boom, done. And then they start with excuses, right? Justifying it. And you can find everything, all excuses you want. You can. I actually recorded a video just this morning. The title of the video is Fuck the Inner Child. Because whatever happened to you, it's not defining you if you don't identify it as such. And we're gonna unpack some other really interesting things about attachment style for men, attachment style for women, and what a healthy relationship looks like attachment style wise.
It's important because when it comes to these attachment styles, oftentimes we see just videos about the anxious attachment or the avoidant attachment, but we don't really see a lot of talking going on about the secure attachment, where this is actually what we want to know what it's like so that we can work towards it, right? And I so agree with you that no matter what your attachment style appears to be, you see, okay, this is my starting point. This is how I'm fucked up. Now I need to get to this level. So, I think it would almost make a lot more sense to learn more about the secure attachment style than what you actually have. What questions would you ask someone to actually, let's define my attachment style. I like how I low-key use these episodes as like a therapy session. I believe at the moment I am more of a healthy attachment style than I was before. I feel like I was kind of not afraid of intimacy, but dismissive in a way, kind of like I take care of me, you take care of you, you take care of your needs, and I'll do me, and then sometimes we can hang out. What questions would you ask someone to like determine where am I in this spectrum as I try to become more healthy as far as attachment style?
Oh, that's an amazing question. I love the way you articulate it. So first of all, I want to talk about secure attachment style real quick and just debunk this myth, because secure is a myth. Let me tell you also why. You cannot be completely secure. We always fluctuate. And by the way, the best attachment style is ambivalent because you're fluctuating between. You're a little bit this, a little bit that. Completely secure. This is the holy grail of attachment style when people say, I'm going to be secure. I am very secure in myself. Very. I used to be extremely anxious, but now I am much more secure, and I'm going to talk about also on exactly what attachment style needs to be for a man and for a woman in order for the relationship to be healthy. Let's say you're anxious, you're avoidant.
Now what?
Yeah, now what? Right? You gotta do some work. You gotta do some work. Not find excuses, but find reasons and find logic in your behaviors and what your behavior should look like.
When you said, okay, now you know your attachment style, now what? It's a very good question. It also reminded me of, how people treat addictions and they try so hard to, let's say you have an alcoholic and they try so hard to not drink and then they go 1 day without drinking and then they go 2 days and now every day it's a struggle, but they're sober nevertheless. Well, you just remove your addiction. Now what? Because you have no life, you have no purpose in life, you're just struggling with, I mean, you still have the cravings, and it's a very shallow approach to know something is wrong and then in theory get rid of it, or know there is there and then do research. But now what is a fundamental question to what we're discussing, and also with addictions and everything. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, that's good. In life, all the time I say to myself, in life, now what? When you are, life is needs to be very proactive. And this is why I don't really like to dwell on what you wore. This is why I created this video, Fuck the Inner Child, because it doesn't really matter. Because I know that successful people, by any means, if it's financial or good relationship, they never dwell on the past. They take the past and they use it as a stepping stone in order for them to be where they want to be. They don't use it as an anchor.
This is one of the ways that someone is starting to get old. The definition of old. People who now entered the era of getting old are people who spend most of their time thinking about the past and the things that happened, as opposed to people who still think about the future most of the time and what's gonna happen and their purpose. So you have these two people, and the point where you start getting old is when you start thinking about the past more than you think about the future.
Which causes me to think sometimes when I hear this kind of stuff, if I listen to a podcast, that's the point where I stop for a second, just pause the episode and contemplate what you just said. Because it was really good. So let's continue. How a healthy relationship looks like, attachment-wise, attachment style-wise. If I said the word correctly. English is still my second language, so sometimes I'm just saying stuff that I hope will make sense and land in your mind.
Look, you're okay. I English is also my second language, and sometimes I go beyond. I even use words that I don't even know what they mean, but I use them anyway. So you're good. You're fine. Dichotomy. I have no idea what the word dichotomy means. Can I tell you, I've been using dichotomy now for months.
Okay, so anyways, the way that a healthy relationship looks like attachment-wise, it's the feminine, and I'm talking about it also energy-wise. The masculine energy and the feminine energy, we have to have polarity, right? We have to have it in order for us to have a healthy relationship. This is why a lot of relationship coaches that really caught up with attachment styles in this lingo, they say the anxious avoidant trap. They call it a trap because you must have one avoidant and one anxious. Two avoidant, there is no match. It's like a magnet that cannot be attracted to itself. It's the positive pole against the positive pole. It doesn't work. Two avoidance, there is no relationship. Two anxious, there is a very codependent relationship. And ambivalent, like I said, ambivalent is the best because you're fluctuating between. Now, a healthy relationship looks like this. The feminine, the one who holds the feminine energy, the female, needs to be more anxious. The masculine needs to be more avoidant. I'm going to explain exactly why. Promise you guys you're going to understand it before you just scratch your head or rip your hairs out, which I've done lately. Get this. On a spectrum of 1 to 10, where 1 is anxious, 10 is avoidant, the female needs to be between 3 to 5. Okay, 3 to 5. More anxious. She does not need to go to avoidance. All the men out there, if you date an avoidant, you fucked up. You didn't do the work correctly. I'm going to explain why. Hang in there. The male needs to be between 5 and 7 on the spectrum of 1 to 10. More avoidant. ¿Por qué? Why? Because the masculine is more logic. Would you agree? It needs to be more logic. The leader, less emotional. And when you're avoidant, you are less in your feelers. Now, the feminine needs to be more anxious. She needs to be more in her feelers. It doesn't mean that she needs to be like texting all the time, or doing this, or doing that, or I'm anxious. Not like that. 3 to 5. If you are below 3, you need to book a call with me or something. We need to talk. Because, and also for men, if you're above 7, you completely detach from your emotions, you're not emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence, it's not just about feeling or not feeling an emotion, it's about know how to regulate your emotions when they surface. And female says, thinks that they are emotionally intelligent, and I'm so sorry to tell you ladies, you're not. Because feeling your feelings and being so in your feelers that it sometimes debilitates you from making a conscious and logical decision, it just means you're not emotionally intelligent. The definition of emotional intelligence is to know how to regulate it.
People with, okay, let's say from 1 to 3, right? So anxious. I think that a lot of times people with this anxious style may often feel like they love more than the other person. But I think that's not the case. I think you're coming in a relationship with more urgent needs. It's like two people are building a house. One has a house already and the other one is homeless. For one, this is very urgent. So, and the other one just doesn't have, I mean, the homeless one does not have the will to see how things go. They don't have time. It's not a matter of loving so much. It's just a matter of, you see something as very urgent. So
That's correct. Um, so this is why when the female needs to be a little bit more anxious. This is just how it is. The man needs to be more stoic because he needs to lead the relationship. He needs to lead the relationship correctly. Okay? He needs to lead the relationship logically. He needs to be the rock. He's not phased when his woman is throwing a tantrum because this is the time of the month or whatever. He needs to be strong. I'm not afraid of you. I'm okay. You're okay. We're going to be okay. He's not emotional. But when it need to say, baby, I love you so much. You make my day just so much better. And today I just thought about you and something in my heart was so full that I just needed to come and embrace you and to give you a hug and tell you how much I appreciate you. He needs to have this capability. And the female cannot be avoidant. She cannot be logical as the man. This is why we are complementing each other. A healthy relationship is when two people complement each other, not complete each other. They complement. They're like, this is what you need, this is what I need. The feminine, the masculine, the polarity between them. And in order for you to create polarity, this is a must. And something that people don't know about polarity, they think, give what you want to get. That's the recipe for polarity disaster.
yeah, and I think I agree, and I think it's also very important for women to communicate. Oh, and by the way, just to ask, this feminine, masculine, I do tend to have a very masculine personality for whatever reason. Does it work the same if you have masculine and feminine, but they're not necessarily correlated to male and female? You know what I mean? Like if it's reversed, but masculine and feminine nevertheless?
Yeah, I'm talking about energy, not gender.
Okay, and also another question. So let's keep it simple and just say feminine is female because it's.
Yeah, yeah.
But what I see women do a lot of the times is, let's say she's obviously more anxious than her man, but she would like him to text her every now and then, and she thinks that's fair. But then she does not communicate that. I think that's one of the. I see a huge flaw in a lot of the people. They just don't know how to communicate their needs in a relationship. They feel like they're gonna get rejected of some sort, or that things are gonna end. I feel like there's there's certain work that you need to do in yourself, and then there's certain things that you have, these unfulfilled needs that you have to communicate to your partner. Like a lot of the times a woman has to say, hey, I would really like if you text me good morning every morning. And then a man is going to do that, because what the hell, right? But women don't necessarily do that. And then they keep it inside because he should know, right? And then all of a sudden and at the very first argument they have, everything comes out. It's like a what, like a fucking concert. It's first is the new things and then the old hits, right? And I think that also what I've noticed in relationships is that the more healthy a relationship is, the smaller the gap between what they're arguing about and the actual problem, and vice versa. And I did forget what my question was.
No, I remember. That's okay. So I'm going to tackle the question on two different levels. Okay, number one, you talked about what the woman need, the needs that, let's say, if she texts, if the woman say, I need you to text me good morning, there is a difference between what a woman need and what she wants. That's a want. Women, I love you guys, I love you girls, but you don't need that. Because if I'm validating you too much, you lose interest, you lose respect, hypergamy is not satisfied, and you exit. My girlfriend now, I love her. I love her. I really do. I don't text. I rarely text her. She texts me almost all the time. And I keep her anxious. I keep her interested. I keep her, it's a mystery. We've been together for about 10 months now, and she's like, I don't know everything about you. I was like, yep, there's a lot more. Because and this is a story, and she said she communicated, she's a therapist, and she communicated her needs. And I created also a video on my channel, my YouTube channel, about how to meet your partner's needs. But you need to differentiate between the need and the want, and your partner does not need to meet your needs. He or she needs to meet your expectations. You need to meet your own needs. All of the needs that you ever have, you need to meet them. Your partner meets expectations. So she can tell me when she communicated her needs, I said, don't say needs, say expectations, because when you say need, it's very definite. There's no negotiation. When I told her my expectation, then we can negotiate. You can say, listen, I feel good about it. And I told her my expectations is when I go to the gym, when I'm working, since I'm waking up at 3 a.m. and I told her from 3 a.m. to around 6, 7 p.m., I am extremely unavailable. Extremely. If you want to have lunch, I have my calendar. We book it. We do it. This is how I operate. After 7, the day is yours. Weekends are yours. Whatever you want to do, I'm with you. Sunday, it's her day. Whatever she wants on a Sunday. Whatever. I tell her whatever. Just whatever you want. And this is why when we talk about the expectations and not needs, because if she told me, I need you to message me, my expectations are different. And the way that I roll is different. So we find the middle ground in between us when we communicate in a form of expectations and not needs. So that was a crucial thing that I realized very early on in this relationship, because dating a therapist, it's challenging and it's also very enlightening because she knows a lot.
Yeah, it's very interesting combination of like the mystery of wanting to know the person more and more and never quite enough, and just seeing and like actually getting to know them and and what are their downfalls, right? I recently I had a Tinder date, and I asked the guy, in which ways are you fucked up? And she just looked
Oh
at
my
me in
God.
silence for like 5 seconds. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, can I rephrase that? But and I agree, all external relationships are like extensions of internal relationships. So, and I think the more important to you the external relationship is, the more internal relationship is projected. So in attachment theory, the internal working model refers to this mental framework that the individual develops based on their early experiences with caregivers. Um, and I guess there's like three key elements of this internal working model. So there's the model of self. This is how you see yourself. Good enough, positive sense of self. Unworthiness, self-doubt. And there's the model of others, right? So the belief that others are trustworthy and generally good, or that they're not and they're unsafe. And then the model of relationships, which is this internal working model, shapes how individuals expect relationships to function. And in secure attachment style, which is something that you described with your girlfriend, this is summarized as I'm okay, you're okay, we're okay. And in other styles, something out of these three is not okay, right? So, but what do people with secure attachment style look for in their partner? Can they even get entangled, or can a relationship work if they are with someone who is extremely anxious or avoidant, or is it gonna come down sooner rather than later?
I would say the relationship that I'm in right now, it's exactly how I described it. A healthy relationship should look like, because sometimes my partner, she knows when I'm getting to the 7 on the spectrum, and she feels and she check me. She checked me. She's like, you're getting there. We know, and it's very important to know attachment styles. When you go into a relationship, there is something that I call relational masculinity and relational femininity. But a man, I'm talking to the men, you need to know attachment styles. You need to know a lot of stuff about relationships, because this is your language of communication with your partner. When she's starting to be a little bit too anxious, I'm like, I'm checking her too. I'm saying, listen, babe, I'm here. It's all good. I know you have abandonment issues. I understand. I mean, whatever happened to her in the childhood, I said, I get it. I know that it sometimes surface, but I'm here. So I check her and I validate her, and I bring her back to towards the 5, to more secure. And when I go to the 7, she check me. And this is why it's so important to know how to communicate it, and to know how to bring back your partner when they deviate. And we need this. Listen, we need this. And I won't lie. Sometimes I go toward 3 sometimes. Sometimes I get a little bit anxious and she get a little bit avoidant. This is how it goes. You go like this. This is the game. This is the beauty. And she asked me, what do you need from me? You know what I told her? I need you to ignore me sometimes. No one will ever give this answer, but I told her, listen, what I want is for you to be all over me. I love you, I'm yours, that's it. That's what I want. My rational brain wants it to feel secure, but no, I need you to ignore me sometimes. So I'm fucking wondering what's going on. Does someone else want her? Does something happen? What's going on? Get me to the anxiousness from time to time. Get me there, because I need it. I don't want it. Again, this is not what you want, but this is what you need to keep the spark alive. People say, how you keep the spark alive in the relationship? Just dance on the spectrum of 3 to 7. You need to let your partner. Sometimes I take a little bit more time to answer. Not because I'm playing a game. Actually, I'm really busy, but I will take more time, because like if she texts me now, I can reply. But I will choose to reply after this, recording, eating, gym. Because things are more important to me at this point. And by the way, man, if you're playing games and you're not really it, she's going to feel it, she's going to test you, and you're going to fail. Because when I don't answer, she asks, why didn't you answer? I did a podcast, I recorded a YouTube video, I went to the gym, I cooked lunch, and I went to the dog, walk with the dog, and I was just in a headspace of just me time. So when you are it's not coming across like you're faking it. This is why many people, I will never give dating advice without telling the person, you need to be it. So I can tell you how a secure or ambivalent attachment style looks like. I can teach you all the techniques and methods and just describe to you exactly how it looks like. But if you are not stoic, if you're as a man, you're not grounded, as a man, you are not who you're supposed to be. And as a man, discipline, that's the number one thing. Discipline, as a motherfucker, you gotta be disciplined. Like there is nothing that can break me. When I say I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna be there. I said I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't party. I do everything correctly. I live without regret. There is nothing in my life right now that I'm doing that I don't like. There's no people in my life that I don't like. I don't do what I don't like. Everything is, I'm right on character. My character, the person that I build, I'm just playing accordingly to the character. If you heard me speak about 2 years ago or a year ago, I stuttered. I didn't know how to, my English was very weak. So I said the character that I'm building needs to know English better. Needs to articulate himself better. When I see Andrew Tate, you can say a lot of things about this guy, but there's things you cannot take away. The way that he speaks, articulate himself flawlessly. But this is a lot of work. And people don't see that. They think that they are their woman will love them regardless. Unconditional love, which this is another myth. There is not such a thing as unconditional love. All love is conditional besides the love that a mom and a dad have to their kid. All other loves are conditional and they should be. I'm not expecting my partner to love me if I treat her like shit.
Yeah, I think this is the problem with therapy is like is trying to apply makeup to a wound, you know. The problem with therapy is that we try to avoid triggers instead of doing shadow work, which is what you described. So, for example, the avoidant may not want to be reached out by the attached so often, but if the attached stops reaching out as often, then now the avoidant has to step out of their comfort zone and reach out. Now, that's healing, that's healthy, you know, instead of just stopping each other from triggering alone, you know. I mean, this is very shallow work, you know, and we see that a lot in therapy. And also what you said, you know, playing games, people notice, and it's one of the most unattractive things you can imagine. I'd rather have someone reply the every time the very second I text them than to see them play a game. But also what I've noticed is, and I want to ask you about that as well, as I studied psychopathy. Gosh, how grandiose can you be? As I looked at online research for a week about psychopathy, I noticed that these people don't really fit in any of these. Even the ambivalent, none of those. And I noticed some experts started calling it like flat attachment style, flat attachers that feel like threatened by attachment. And is this important to like point out? Because I think maybe it has become an epidemic. These individuals have difficulty forming deep, intimate relationships. And I feel like a lot of people nowadays are afraid of relationships because it's going to take away their independence, and their connections with others are shallow or transactional. You know, and other, unlike other attachment styles, you know, like anxious or avoidance, where there's either a fear of losing someone or avoidance of intimacy, this flat attachment style is kind of characterized by the absence of emotional attachment altogether. And so my question to you is, do you think technology like dating apps or whatever is changing attachment styles and kind of like putting this flat attachment forward, this digital age, especially social media and dating apps, they appear to be creating um more of this flat attachment, and the this ease of constantly switching partners and ghosting in online dating kind of reinforces these tendency that's encouraging this emotional detachment rather than long-term commitment. And I also think that people, well, maybe people don't really want to have that many relationships anymore. I'm talking about like the Gen Z or Gen X or whatever.
I will tackle this in two different aspects because number one, therapy, the problem with therapy today is that it's emphasizing the problem. It's just emphasizing the problem. This is why all of this talk about attachment styles, it emphasizes the problem. What, now what? What is the solution? What is the solution? And you talked about the second thing, the dating apps. It destroys the modern culture of dating. Destroys. I made a video. Make sure you watch dating apps. It's my least viewed video, and it's the most important. I looked like maybe 1,000 views, something like that, and I was like, oh my fucking God, that's the solution of most of your problems because you are keep on going on dating apps and it destroys you on so many levels. So many levels. For a man, it's emasculating because a man is less popular than a female. So when a man goes there, swipe, 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 I think the statistic is for 100 swipes, you get one match. And for a female, for 100 swipes, you get 99 matches. I don't know. It's like, it's insane. This is why the ego of the man is decreasing. His sense of worth is decreasing. This is why people don't opt out from dating because they said, no, I'm dating up. I'm not popular. And the females, usually, even if they are not that high value or looking good or have anything to offer for a man's life to enrich his life, their ego is very inflated because they say, oh, look at all these men that just want to be with me. And They don't do anything. It's very dehumanizing because the apps, I am judging you based on the photo. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you've been through. I don't feel your vibe. For me, you're just a picture on the screen. And people just, this is also why relationship fail a lot of the times, because you're one swipe away from getting a new partner. You just swipe your problems away, swipe, 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 and that's it. There is no problem. You're very replaceable. This is why my clients, my audience, my people never go on dating apps. Never. Because if you truly believe in a higher source, whatever you call it, Jesus, Allah, Morgan Freeman, like whatever you call it, I don't care. This power gives you life. This power guiding you. Once you know what you want, once you know who you want to be with and what you need to be in order to become a vibrational match for this person will find you even if you're hiding under a rock. They will find you, but you need to become in order for you to attract. You don't need to play games. You don't need to learn these stupid tactics. I see it and it pains me so much. This is why I created my channel, to tell the guys the truth. I hate it when I see pickup artists tell you go to the girl at the gym and tell her, what do you lift? Or I don't know, like stupid shit. It's not the line. It's not what you say. It's how you carry yourself. It's who you are, your vibration, your energy. And your vibration and energy is your self-worth. It's by the work you do on yourself. It's by the wake up time you wake up. When you wake up, do you watch pornography? Are you contaminating your mind? Are you a sinner? What are you doing when no one's watching? Are you disciplined? Really disciplined man? Do you know that you can carry a woman because you can carry yourself? What is it? And many men look for the answer. They think, like you said, put makeup when they need stitches or whatever. They search for the shortcut of what I need to say to a woman to get her to sleep with me. Nothing. And a real man is not about sex at all, almost at all. I can tell you that once I tap into my masculinity and I'm practicing semen retention, I am so grounded. And at the beginning, even with my girl, it took us few months. And sometimes she asked me like, what's going on? Are you not attracted to me? I said, I am. But if everything goes right, it will happen. I don't want you for that. I truly don't want her for that. I wanted her for an intellect. She's a therapist. She's a beautiful, smart woman. I was like, I'm just attracted to your wisdom. This is a high value woman. People say high value women looking good. No. This is just God gift to her. Whatever she's doing beyond that, that's her value. And I know that dating world, they talk about a lot about that woman born with value and man needs to work for the value. I don't believe that to be true. Both of us needs to work on ourselves to create value, to bring to a relationship, to bring to the marketplace, to the world. This is why. And when I see women that just look good, I know they're going to be a disaster if they didn't really work on themselves. If they, for example, there is many beautiful girls, many. They do OnlyFans. So they don't really add value to people. They don't add value to other people's life. Therefore, they are not valuable. They can look the best, but the value is not determined by the way she looks, by who she is, her integrity.
It's a mistake that a lot of young men and myself make. It's you look at someone who's good looking and already you're like, ooh, that's the one for me. To be completely honest with you, this is something I need to work on. I've always been too much focused on the looks. Honestly, I've never been too attracted to intelligence. I would be. I don't give a fuck about your MBA, but if you're hot, I'm in. And it always backfires. It always backfires, and especially as time goes on, if you have nothing to talk about with that person, man, then you're gonna have a difficult time.
By the way, relationship is not just about obtaining the relationship, it's sustaining and maintaining. And you need to have that mental tools in order for you to achieve that. So yeah.
And you explained this holistic approach. If someone does happen to have an attachment style over 7 under 3, generally speaking, Where do they start? What would be the first steps in your opinion?
It is important to know your childhood. It is important to know what you went through. It's important because it's a stepping stone. It's important because you need something to actually stepping stone step on. You need to know what happened and how I can step on it. So you do the work. You can talk to your parents or whatever. There are many things to discover that. But when I do a call with someone, let's say we have a 1 hour session on that, 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes is on getting the stones. The other time is just building up. So what happened? Didn't get enough love. When did you leave home? When you leave home, what was their reaction? How did you feel? How did you experience your first heartbreak? It's usually very telling. If you were devastated or didn't give a fuck, it's very telling, the first heartbreak. Because attachment style come to the surface in our late teens when we develop the cognitive abilities to attach. When we're little, we have the innate ability to attach because our survival instincts tell us attach because you need this person. But the cognitive ability, we can actually choose who we attach to because when you were born, you didn't choose, I'm going to attach to mom. You didn't. It was there. And you had to attach. This is why sometimes you see animals in nature. If a dog is born into a wolf pack, he start howling like a wolf.
Just one very unimportant information. Your dog's attachment style mirrors yours, by the way. There was a surprising study that found that dogs, like humans, can have distinct attachment styles. So, and even more shockingly, a dog's attachment style tends to mirror their owner's attachment style. So, owners with secure attachment styles tend to have more emotionally balanced and secure dogs, and those with anxious or avoidant tendencies, they have pets that exhibit similar behaviors, such as like separation anxiety or emotional aloofness, right? So that's really interesting. Can these attachment styles be passed down through epigenetics? So, for example, parents who experience trauma or insecure attachment themselves, can they pass on like on a biological predisposition for this biological predisposition for heightened stress responses, which prime their children for insecure attachment even before the environmental factors come into play?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a learned behavior. There is something, but I think more it's a learned behavior. And again, it's a cop out to say, "Oh, my ancestors, my grandpa, I inherited my attachment side." That's a cop out. This is why I am more of what now? What can you do? So you inherited anxiousness.
And it's also interesting because even if your parents were had, let's say, anxious attachment style, and now you have anxious attachment style, it's easier to like go by default. Oh well, it's genetic, when in reality their being anxious affected you in a nurture type of way, not in nature type of way. So it wasn't genetics, it was the behavior, right? It's same as with people with, again, psychopathy, for example. A lot of people think it's genetics. And well, because their amygdala functions differently. But as you experience childhood trauma, your brain literally changes, the hippocampus and amygdala. One of them shrinkens and the other one becomes larger. So it's a very interesting dichotomy. Anyway.